Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together Reviews Curriculums, and today we're continuing my series of workbooks that I love to use, and especially with these early learners. Today we're talking about the School Zone first grade curriculum. So where do you use these types of books? I would not use these as your be-in and end-all for your total curriculum. Now, they cover math, they cover reading, all the various aspects of grammar and phonics, time and money. They cover the whole gambit, and it's denoted as first grade. Now, we know as homeschoolers we tend to not worry about grades, but we kind of do sometimes. And we always kind of want to know where our learners are. I love using these books in our morning baskets, I like to use all workbooks. But I love to use this as kind of like as a checkout for me. We homeschool all year round, and when I finish the first grade curriculum for our reading, and I finished essentially our second grade curriculum for math, I kind of wanted to know where my daughter was, and I see these books everywhere. I think I got this one at Walmart. I think I can get these online for about $13, $14 as well. Really cheap, really consumable, about 300 pages. It's not very big, but it's a nice 300-page book, and they break it up in half. So all the reading levels are at the beginning and all the math is at the end, and I'll show you that in a second here when we hop into it. But I love using this as kind of like that review. When I'm moving on to second grade math, when I'm moving on to second grade reading levels, I kind of like to use this as kind of a wrap-up and something easy. My daughter has always been a real fan of doing things that are easy and enjoying them. She gets a kick out of mastering stuff, and so when I kind of finish something, I will bring one of these books in, and we actually completed this whole book like during the summer. I'll pull it out in the morning, have her do a couple pages, maybe spend about 10 minutes on the math, 10 minutes on the reading, and then we'll go ahead and get into everything else that we're doing for the day. Use it as a warm-up. It's a super easy thing for her to do, to kind of get that mastery and get that confidence. It wasn't as important for us for math, but it was more important for us for reading. I loved using this for reading because my daughter has a little bit of struggle with reading, and having this was a great way to kind of boost that confidence and to help me understand where she was with respect to her peers. So let's go ahead and hop in and I'll show you what it looks like. So obviously here we are, School Zone, big first grade. So what does that mean? Real nice and clear here. They have the ages that you're looking for, 6th, 7th grade. When my daughter did it, she was closer to the 7-year-old range. So she was closer to that first grade, kind of older first grade. We have a little bit of frozen stickerage here to kind of accentuate the book. They have a lot of activities that are both online, so they have additional online activities, and they put that here on the anywhereteacher.com. We did not use any of the online stuff. We used this specifically for its review purposes and in a print form. Now, you can take this anywhere. If you're on the road, if you're going to be traveling for a couple of weeks or a month or so, or you're going to be deployed through the summer, or if you want your child, if you finish first grade stuff and you go with the school year, with the school calendar, and you have your summer, this is a perfect book for them to kind of like keep the brain juices going all the way through the summer and kind of review maybe what they have done with you at home for first grade. Really super easy. Down here they tell you all the skills you're going to be doing: money, time, fractions, phonics, spelling, basic math, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. One of the things that I did when I did this is the reading section is this half of the book, so it's a little bit more than half the book, and the math is on the back half of the book. And so what I had to do is keep 2 sticky notes running, so I'd always be able to just jump straight to where the sticky note was. I know it's kind of like silly, but man, just saving that 30 or 40 seconds of trying to figure out what page you're on was helpful. And so I always had the 2 sticky notes, and my daughter kind of knew all I had to do was like plop this down in front of her, and she would just open right up to that thing, right up to that sticky note page, and go ahead and do those activities. And she knew she had to do about 2 pages of each section in the morning. And so she would do her reading section and she would do her math section. Again, this is great if you have multiple learners you're trying to manage, giving this to maybe your older student, or maybe this is your younger student, and so you can work with your older student. That's a great little thing to do there as well. Now, they have a little bit of a warm-up here. They start fairly easy because if you think about it, they consider it a first grade curriculum. So if you imagine these are rising kindergartners entering into this. So they finish kindergarten, rising first graders, and they have these little activities to find the letters, fairly straightforward. One thing that you'll notice about this book, and that I really appreciate, especially these workbooks, is they take a great care not to repeat themselves every 3 or 4 pages. Almost every page is a new activity. It's different. There's another activity, and you can see there's just nothing repeats. It's very rarely do things repeat, and so I appreciate that attention to detail and that care, so that my daughter isn't getting bored by seeing the same 3 or 4 activities over and over. You can get that with some other workbooks. I did not have it here, and I appreciate that a lot. The thing that I love right out the bat, if you need a little bit more handwriting, a lot more writing, I know when we're writing words and we're spelling words and when we're reading words, it's kind of like the reverse. We're either reading the words, sounding them out, or we're sounding them out and writing them. Some great skills here. So a lot of handwriting in here if you're looking to have a lot of handwriting, a lot of reading. Depends on how advanced your reader is. If they can read the actual description, you may have to help them just a little bit, or maybe have them read certain words that you know they know. So I sometimes will underline words that I expect them to read, and I'll read the other words. That's another trick that I like to do now, especially with my youngest one. But again, here we're just simply doing a lot of writing and just, reading words, and they have the skills up here at the top, long O, whatever the skill is that you're learning, consonant, vowel, consonant with a silent E at the end. So we're talking about long vowel sounds with the A and the I. They obviously have some coloring activities, so it's not all just straight handwriting. A lot of creativity, some obviously matching here. There is some reading, so obviously here is something that I would have to read to my daughter. So Roy was in the toy store with his mother. He had saved his coins to buy a new toy, and so there are some activities here where you're reading to your child. If they're a little bit more advanced, you can have them read certain sections. Obviously test that where you feel your learner is. Real fun. There's some word searches and simple. Like I would only have my daughter do 1 page, 2 pages, and then call it, and then move the sticky note and then close it up and go to the math section. Again, not a lot. I would use this as a morning basket, kind of a warm-up for them. And again, I use this primarily as a review at the end. So we're moving into more complex material for our curriculum. This was something that was easy for her to get an easy win, and to just kind of cultivate those skills that she had hopefully retained from before. So this was the reading section. Obviously covers all those very straightforward activities, a lot of phonics. Towards the end, there's a lot more reading, and I liked that. There's a little bit of tic-tac-toe, more handwriting. Yes, here we go. So we're starting to know a little bit more grammar, doing a little bit more grammar, writing sentences. Things that I like to do with writing sentences is that I don't care about spelling. I want her to just think of complex sentences, think of full, complete sentences, write whatever she feels that sentence, how to spell those words. I don't want to stifle her writing. So sometimes my daughter does phone it in. I like pizza, that's backward Z's there. I like basketball, so she can ask Google how to spell basketball. Here's a few other ones here as well that she's writing full sentences, forgot her verb there, so she went ahead and tossed it in with an arrow. Things like that are in here. Working on punctuation and capitalization, having to remind her about that as well. So it does go all the way through from basically simple word spelling all the way up to now we're writing sentences. So you can see if you're running through this in a very quick, span of, say, the end of the summer, you're not expecting your learner to be learning this along the way. I like it as sort of a review, not something that I would focus on completely. Here I put a little divider here so we can get to the math section. Math was a lot easier. So my daughter when we did this book, she was more advanced with the math. She had moved forward here. So the first grade math was actually very easy for her. So I remember when we did this, we were doing 4 or 5 pages of math at a time. Fairly straightforward and easy for her. So she was able to just do this very quickly. We ripped through the math section, and then it took a lot longer for the reading section because that's something that she has to work at. So the math section, simple, addition, subtraction, using kind of pictorial graphs here to be able to showcase the math problems, some word problems. So if you got a learner you want to get a little bit of more reading experience in here. I think at this time I was not asking her to do reading a lot of these questions. I was reading these for her. Now that she is a couple years older, now we're getting into our third grade reading, third grade math, she is now having to read these things for herself. So depending on where your learner is, you have to make that gauge, whatever you feel is best for you. Obviously, again, simple addition, simple math up to tens. I believe going further, yep, we get into the next place value up to tens place value. Obviously, math. We had a little bit of money in here as well. Just doing this. Okay, continuing through, we'll come up here. We got a little bit of time, so it's really nice starting to do some skip counting. We have a little bit of geometry here as well. Using the geometry to show fractions, so you're starting to get into that proto-division, running those skills, and then obviously getting in here in groups of things. Obviously 1/2, 1/3. I'm trying to see things in terms of pieces. Obviously we have a little bit of word problems here at the end. I think towards the end here, I think I was starting to ask her to read as much as she could. And maybe she missed a word or two, but she was able to figure out what she had to do. So, testing the grit, that grit that we're trying to get them all the way through, doing more kind of graphs, more word problems here, a little bit more complex towards the end. Obviously, at the very end, what I like is there's always an answer key. So if you ever have a question about what is the right answer, they list it here in the back as well. Answers for every single problem right up to the end. A little bit of logic here at the end, but I think we had bailed there at the end. Yep, we kind of went all the way. A little bit of time, a little bit of days of the week and months as well. So I hope that the School Zone Big First Grade Review helped you in making the decision. You can get this online for about $13, $14 for 300 pages, and for the creativity on page-to-page knowledge and having everything kind of in one area, I think it's a great value. I would not use this as a full curriculum. I would definitely use other things, but I love using this as kind of like a supplemental, workbooks, morning baskets, end of the year review, summer review. You want to take a few months off and you want to just kind of take it easy. Something to do when you're on the road, or you're at co-op, or you're with, at sporting events, and you have a learner that needs to come along and maybe do some work while they're doing that. This is perfect for that. I know I tossed this in my backpack a million times. It really held up over those few months that we did this book. It's just the two sections, so you have full first grade reading section, so going from basically just handwriting CVC words all the way up to reading short stories. And then in the very, very end, they have math, and it covers the whole range of first grade math concepts. So based on what you need, you can use it for the first half, use it for the second half. We used it for the whole time. It was a little bit easier on the math, a little bit harder on the reading for my daughter, but that was because that's what she does best with math, and she struggles a little bit in the reading, so we had to take a little bit more time with that. From the standpoint of the amount of time I put into this, 10, 15 minutes. Don't overdo it. Just nibble at it. It's something you just continue to work through. It was basically a daily activity that I did with my daughter for essentially the whole summer. And it kind of worked out well for us, and then it was a nice review, and it was for me as the educator, it was helpful for me to do kind of a benchmark and see where she was. Oh, she had a little bit of struggle here, maybe something else I need to work on. Oh, she's struggling here, maybe this is something we need to consider when we get into our next curriculum or whatever we might do. So I hope this has helped you make a decision. I like using these big books. I love workbooks. I've done a number of workbook reviews already on our curriculum. You can't go wrong. I like this, the Big First Grade Workbook.